200,000 Indian rupees with one surety of the same amount. However, he is yet to be released until he renews his visa to enable the trial court to make further orders for his release. He has paid for the renewal of the visa, which is under review by the Indian government. Our mission in New Delhi makes welfare checks on Mr. Ayunga, and the latest check was on 16th April 2025, and they have confirmed he is in good health. The mission has also been following up on the progress of the case and makes regular updates to the family. The third aspect is measures being taken to safeguard Kenyans in foreign countries. The government has a constitutional mandate to protect its citizens, including those in the diaspora. And there are several measures, a raft of measures, in place to safeguard Kenyans in foreign countries. Mr. Speaker, I'll try to highlight some of them, but most of them are in the written statement answer that I've already provided. One is continuous registration of Kenyans abroad at the embassies and at the State Department of Diaspora Affairs for accountability. The government has also signed several labor agreements and still negotiating others aimed at safeguarding the rights and welfare of Kenyans working abroad. We have also introduced mobile consular services, outreach programs to be able to reach as many Kenyans abroad in remote parts away from where the embassies are, to be able to assist them to get the relevant travel documents. The State Department of Diaspora Affairs has also developed a legal aid information framework and pre-departure manuals to provide Kenyans going abroad with information on their rights and essential basic information of their country of destination. The government has also established a clear reporting channel where Kenyans in the diaspora or their relatives in Kenya can report any kind of distress through the ministry's e-citizen portal. Our hotline numbers and emails are on through the 24-hour call center at the State Department of Diaspora Affairs. Kenya missions abroad have consular desks, mainly staffed by immigration attachés who handle consular concerns, issue citizens with necessary documents, and assist with the repatriation of mortal remains. They also pay consular visits to Kenyans in detention centers, prisons, hospitals, and deportation centers to provide consular assistance. However, not all missions have immigration attachés, hence it is critical for the ministry to bolster the workforce in the missions abroad. During emergency situations, the government carries out evacuation of Kenyans from affected countries. For Kenyans in conflict with the law, the missions facilitate them with service of a translator, more so in non-English speaking countries, to ensure they understand the court proceedings. In certain cases, mission staff attend court hearings while they do not offer legal representation. They monitor the cases to ensure the right to fair trial is not violated and keep the families updated on progress. And these two aspects relate to the case in question. Kenyans in distress who have no passports are provided with emergency travel documents to facilitate repatriation, and the State Department of Diaspora Affairs supports with tickets where families are unable to procure tickets. Through diaspora engagements, Kenyans are continuously sensitized and urged to observe the rules and laws of their host countries to avoid violation of laws. Finally, the State Department has also developed a diaspora mental health action plan to facilitate engagement with the diaspora to offer counseling services. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Gaka, if you have any supplementary, after that I'll allow 2 joyriders.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am happy with what the ministry is doing, save to, on behalf of the family, request that under the presumption of innocence until proven guilty in the common law regime where India falls, I do plead that the ministry does assist the student not to miss his university examinations while under detention. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That's just a comment. Maklap.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to get clarification, or is the Cabinet Secretary, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, aware of a Kenyan citizen by the name of Parsite Rerimoi, who hails from Keturwa sublocation in Baringo West, Baringo North sub-county.
The name is?
Parsite Rerimoi.
Okay.
Who has been jailed in Mexico for 80 years because he was found with Mexicans who were smoking narcotics.
You don't smoke narcotics. You smoke bang.
That one, Mr. Speaker, because me, I'm not a partaker, so I do not know even. I have never seen it before. But Mr. Speaker, that Kenyan has suffered, and the Mexican court has jailed him falsely because he was with Mexicans for 80 years, slapped the family who are peasant farmers in Baringo with $8,300 that they do not know even the conversion that could take to about 1.2. Can the Prime Cabinet Secretary take up that matter and inform this House, Mr. Speaker, and for the people of Baringo to know the fate of Parsite? 80 years, and the man is already 40 years. Is actually like sentencing to death, Mr. Speaker.
Pasaris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I really want to commend the ministry for the work that they are doing. I know that recently they brought in a whole team of Kenyans that were taken to that were in Myanmar, and they were stranded there. They were taken by rogue agents to go and work where there was no work in Thailand. And then they were stranded there and they were really suffering. And the Ministry of Foreign Affairs brought those Kenyans back to their country at the cost of the government. I know that there is a case right now of somebody in the UAE who, James Kariuki, who was arrested for fraud as well. I'll be sharing the details with the ministry. He was actually, it was identity fraud, and even while he was in jail, his ID was being used to defraud other organizations, and he's currently serving in jail. But I think that there is an important thing that we need to do as a country. We need to do a lot of education, civic education about what is going wrong in the society, and we need to actually use online to market the hotlines that Kenyans can call out there, because I think there's not enough information. So I really commend them for the work that they're doing, and I ask them to be more proactive in terms of informing Kenyans how not to be caught in such situations. And thank you for helping all the Kenyans that are out there to come back home when stranded.
Pareo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to bring in an issue of Mr. John Maina Wanjiro, whom I brought this issue to this parliament and have not yet gotten an answer. And John Maina was invited to Dubai by Monica while he was looking for a job. And then he arrived, he traveled on the 15th May 2023, and then disappeared on the 25th June 2023. And until today, we have not heard of him, and the parents are looking forward to seeing him, and they have used all means to try to trace the young man, and until today, they have never known where he is. So I'm bringing this issue so that we can see if the government can trace of his whereabouts. Thank you.
Do you have the contacts of the Monica?
Yes, I have the contacts of Monica, who invited him.
Okay. Last on this, joyriders, Wamushomba.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to affirm on the case that the Honorable Passaris has talked about because James Kariuki happens to be my voter from Githunguri. This case, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy that the Prime Cabinet Minister is here, is attracting a lot of foreign attention. Because James was arraigned in court and he was jailed for 2 years for having been involved in electronic fraud. But while he was serving his term in jail in Sharjah, in UAE, another crime was committed using his documents. And now he's again and he's been detained for the second crime, not having completed the first jail sentence. And he's supposed to be out with to pay 2 million Kenya shillings for bond. And of course, he has no papers, he has no visa, he cannot be able to even afford for that. And I understand, Mr. Speaker, and this is to the attention of, please excuse me, I'm making a lot of noise. This is to the attention of the Prime Cabinet Minister. I understand that there are so many of our young people in UAE who went there in the invitation of electronic jobs, but have ended up being used for international electronic fraud under coercion of some foreigners. And I understand James is only one victim that is registered and has been arraigned, but there are very many in cells. Can the Prime Cabinet Minister assist us to know whether he's aware of these many children, many young Kenyans in UAE, in cells, and how can we help James and many others that have not been brought to our attention? I happen to have contacts of James, the family, and I would be happy to help you, to assist you to sort out this issue.
You can respond to those.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me start with the question of Mr. Barake on the examination. This is something we have noted, and we'll communicate and see if our efforts through the diplomatic channels can allow Mr. Barake to do his examinations while the other matters are being attended to. So we will follow that up through the diplomatic channels immediately. On the issue of Parstey, Remoy, I must say that I do not have the specific details on this, and we'll be happy to get some.
When you get details, you can write to the committee.
We can then now give a more comprehensive response. On the issue raised by the Honorable Passaris, which in a way also ties with the member for Githunguri, I want to state that first, let me acknowledge with appreciation the compliments for the efforts that the ministry has taken to help the ones who are in Myanmar and indeed in some other areas to be brought back. I just want to say something on this, with your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, so that perhaps I can help in conveying this message and seeking the help of the parliamentarians to be able to campaign with us to educate our young people as they go out. Now, Mr. James Kariuki, he was arrested in a cyber cafe in Dubai, undertaking the fraudulent activities together with others, as has been pointed out. And electronically, we also have to bear in mind that once your details are violated, it's possible that even if you are here somebody else will be using your activities. And I have had this kind of experience myself, where at one time, my Visa card was being used in a country that I had not stepped into. And I had to write officially to the institution to confirm to them and give them details of my passport and travel to show that I was never in that country. So once your electronic details are taken, it is possible that somebody can continue misusing those details for their personal gain. So it's important that we all are vigilant on this. We will nevertheless take up the matter again with our mission and see what more can be done to assist in enabling Kariuki to have access to legal support so that he can be able to deal with his challenges. The issue of the hotlines are well taken. On Pareo, again, I would seek that we get proper details because we have no idea who Monica is. So I would appeal that the member can communicate officially with more details to us so that the ministry can have a starting point in the follow-up process of this other individual. Now, Mr. Speaker, the point I wanted to raise, without in any way casting aspersion as to the innocence or guilt of the individuals that are in this particular question, I just want to state that we have over 1,000 Kenyans incarcerated in different countries for various reasons. Some misdemeanors and some serious offenses that have been committed. It is not our wish that we see these Kenyans languishing in various places. But I would like us to acknowledge that it is important that we engage in a collective campaign as leaders to be able to convey, especially to the young people, because we have a demographic issue here. The young people are the ones who are really traveling, and they constitute 70% of our population. They are not informed about certain consequences. It is our duty, collectively, to start conveying messages of awareness to our young people in all our constituencies in the country, that they should be cautious because landing into trouble there can be very painful. You can be isolated, you can be alone, and by the time somebody discovers you are in trouble somewhere, it may be too late. So this is a message that I would want to appeal through you, Mr. Speaker, so that we advise our young people about that. The second point, Mr. Speaker, is the hard truth that also needs to go out. And the hard truth is this, that Parliament, as they allocate resources, Parliament does not allocate resources for the government of Kenya to continuously bail out Kenyans who have landed into the wrong side of the law in various countries. I think it is important for this to be appreciated because all resource allocation is done here, and therefore our people should know that as much as it's a constitutional obligation to safeguard Kenyans, we must also be realistic and tell Kenyans that they have to obey the law. Once the wheels are up, the law in play is the law of that country. And even here, in our own country, if somebody is on the wrong side of the law, you face the consequences procedurally. So we must also alert our people that we cannot have a society where we are being pressurized. Parliament indirectly is pressurized through the ministry to be providing money, to be bailing out people who have been involved in unlawful activities. So, Mr. Speaker, through you, I just want to appeal that we become cognizant of this and we communicate to our Kenyans so that we don't face further embarrassment as we go forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Question 035, 2025, Honorable Cynthia Muge. Yes, Wanjala, what is it?
Mr. Speaker, thank you, because the Minister of Mr. Speaker, we people in Busia who live along the lake, people in Kisumu County who live along the lake, people from Abay who live along the lake, and people of Migori who live along the lake, and that is Lake Victoria, which is a shared resource. Mr. Speaker, our people have severally landed into problems just because they have gone to fish. The boundary is not indicated, but they are arrested by the Ugandans who keep on extorting them. If they don't have that money, they are taken to jails in Uganda, and there is many of them there. When you report to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it has really done little. That we go even further as a people to go and raise money to help these people. But they have not intervened as a government that this is a shared resource by our people crossing to come and do fishing, and fish are fish are bred in Kenya. They only cross into deeper seas, they are arrested. What is the ministry doing to ensure now they show us or they demarcate, because they had started demarcating the boundaries. And I think at that time, Honorable Speaker, you were the Minister for Foreign Affairs at that time when they were trying to demarcate, but it stopped somewhere. When are they going to prioritize to demarcate the boundary between Kenya and Uganda in Lake Victoria?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say that this process is ongoing. The issue of the demarcation, because we have a department, the KIBO, Kenya International Boundaries Organization, and it's only 2 weeks ago that they gave me a brief on the progress that they are making. Normally, this is a collaborative effort between the countries, and both countries must work in harmony and in tandem. So it's an ongoing process. We have covered substantial parts of our boundaries, but others remain. And the area you mentioned is one of the areas where we are consulting so that we work together with the government of Uganda and indeed even the government of Tanzania when we are looking at the boundaries in the Lake Victoria area. And it's not easy. It's a very expensive exercise, but I want to assure you it's ongoing. However, we will continue with our diplomatic efforts to always mitigate and intervene in areas that you speak of. When I was making reference to the wrong side of the law, Mr. Speaker, I was not talking of the kind of situation that we find ourselves with through the fishing. I was talking of the wrong side of the law where some Kenyans are involved in either drug trafficking, human trafficking, and some of those areas. And I really plead that the Kenyans, especially those who want to go out of the country, please consult with the ministry so that we also advise you on the hotspots in some of these areas, and we avoid you going there because some of them have landed in these difficult areas because they never consulted. Thank you.
Cynthia Muge.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide a report detailing the data and statistics of all children born to Kenyan mothers whom, according to Saudi Arabia laws, are non-citizens, and the steps being taken by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs to process their exit permits? That's question number one. Number two, could the Cabinet Secretary clarify whether there are any actions to address the challenges faced by stateless children born to Kenyan mothers, particularly in cases where former employers have confiscated the passports of the mothers and ensuring that their rights are fully protected. And the last question, could the Cabinet Secretary, the Prime Cabinet Secretary, state the measures put in place to ensure timely processing of the DNA samples collected from Kenyan mothers and their children, including the timelines of processing and issuance of exit permits for these children? Those are my questions, Honorable Speaker, and the Prime Cabinet Secretary should know that this is a very emotive issue where children who are born to Kenyan mothers living in Saudi Arabia cannot access medical care and cannot access education because they are considered not to be eligibly in the country
No
and do not even have...
after the question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would wish to respond as follows. One, the government is apprised of the matter of children born to Kenyan mothers in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The number of children born to Kenyan mothers in our records as of now are 388. The processing of exit visas is done by the government of Saudi Arabia upon application by the individual. The mission assists Kenyans with children to apply for the exit visa, negotiate for waiver of the accumulated dependency fees, and follow up until they exit. On the clarity as to whether there are steps taken to address the challenges faced by stateless children born to Kenyan mothers, particularly in cases where former employers have confiscated the passports of the mothers, we wish to respond as follows. A, Article 14.1, as read with Clause 30 of the 6th Schedule of the Constitution of Kenya, stipulates that a person is a citizen by birth if on the day of the person's birth, whether or not the person is born in Kenya, either the mother or the father of the person is a citizen. This provision outlines the principle of citizenship by parentage, thus granting automatic citizenship to children born abroad to Kenyan citizens. Therefore, in principle, we do not have children born of Kenyans in Saudi Arabia or elsewhere who are stateless. All that the parents need to do so as to apply for identification documents for them from the embassy in Riyadh or the consulate in Jeddah. 3, in instances where the parents have no passports, they apply for replacement through the embassy. In the alternative, the embassy issues them with emergency travel documents to enable them return to Kenya. Lack of a passport is not an impediment to acquisition of vital documents or repatriation. The third aspect of the question is that, as stated earlier, 707 DNA samples for children and their parents were collected for analysis. They were all processed and results shared with the parents to enable them apply for birth certificates and travel documents for the children. And the ministry continues to assist in this process so that we can have the DNA procedures undertaken as soon as possible.
Cynthia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I am a bit confused by the statement or the answer. Of course, I appreciate the efforts and the fact that the ministry is keeping proper records. If not all of it, at least it's appreciated that there is some of it. The other item, that is the question number 2, about the mothers who have had their passports confiscated. You know, I think the Prime Cabinet Secretary is speaking to an ideal situation. Honorable Speaker, I'm trying to address the real situation on the ground in Saudi Arabia. Those mothers have gotten themselves a name called Kemboi. Kemboi means runaways. These are people who have 0 documents. And Honorable Speaker, someone who is already running away from I don't know what cannot honestly walk into one of those offices to take part in a whole process that the Prime Cabinet Secretary is speaking to. And again, Honorable Speaker, I would like the Prime Cabinet Secretary to clarify, what do the laws of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia say about citizenship in Saudi Arabia? Because, Honorable Speaker, from where I sit and from the little knowledge I know about the laws of Saudi Arabia, 1, you cannot transfer citizenship to that child unless the father actually transfers it to that child in that country, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, the other part is about the travel, emergency travel documents. If this was working, Honorable Speaker, we'll have all these women, all these girls who have children running back home if it was as easy as you snap and you get it. So I want clarification on those 2 matters, Honorable Speaker. Otherwise, the other items, I think I'm satisfied with them. The fact that they have been able to collect samples to help them process their documents, I think that is very progressive, and I appreciate the Prime Cabinet Secretary's office for the same.
Dagala.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I just want to ask this, a Kenyan from Shamahoho, Vihiga County, who died in, I think it's in Abu Dhabi, by the name Elizabeth Chausi, of passport holder AK 117992441. I want to know what the ministry is, which steps the ministry is taking, because this is a distressed family, is a family that cannot manage to retrieve the remains of their relative back to Shamahoho for burial. I want the PCS to tell us how the ministry is going to assist this family, bring their kin back home to accord her a decent burial. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Raso. Dida Raso.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I wish to ask the PCS. One is about Kenyans registering themselves to the Kenyan embassy in Saudi Arabia. Apparently, a lot of problems we see emanating from different regions. I think Saudi Arabia comes worse. So for that reason, how much registration takes place? And secondly, we sign labor agreement with some of these countries. Why would they confiscate travel documents or passport from Kenyans if they are legally in those countries? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, let's take one more joyrider, the last one on this. Basil.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the CS. We have Kenyan children, Kenyan single mothers whose exit visas for children are denied for bearing children outside marriage. So what is the ministry doing to sort this particular issue, Mr. Speaker?
What is your question?
I'm talking of exit visas for children who are born outside marriage, detained in Saudi Arabia. So what is the ministry doing about this issue, Mr. Speaker?
Ferdinand, a child is a child whether parents are married or not. Isn't that the case? Yes.
Mr. Speaker.
I've already given to Ferdinand.
Mr. Speaker, I think our country is having a lot of problems, and very many of us have relatives, neighbors, what have you, who have run to the Middle East, Qatar, UAE, of course, and Saudi Arabia. I just want to find out whether the minister could have a program to be able to actually sensitize those who are going to these places before they leave, so that other than asking members of parliament, we may not be able to reach most of the people going to this Middle East, because we have so many Kenyans. I have a cousin of mine who left almost 8 years ago. I don't even know where she is, whether she's dead or alive. But we'll be able to have a program to be able to have people going to Middle East be sensitized on how to handle the situation in Middle East. Thank you.
PCS, you can answer those.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to revisit the issue of the DNA. The DNA process is very personal, and the details you get out of it, you must make sure are not falling into the wrong hands. So one of the things, as we have done the samples, we take them there. They are given to the individuals in confidence, because sometimes the DNA could prove something else. And one of the issues why this process of DNA verification is very, very rigid with the Saudi government is that there's also worry that some people may be involved in child trafficking. So they are very rigorous in the sense that, and it means that they have had cases, not necessarily from Kenyans, but from other people who have claimed that those are their children, when in fact they may not be their children, and this has caused the challenge that we are facing as Kenya today. But I want to state that when I said moving to present documents, it is to the Kenyan embassy. If a Kenyan comes to a Kenyan embassy and says that I've lost my papers, there'll be no other conditionality. In fact, there's no conditionality at all. We'll start processing and verifying, because there are mechanisms to do so. So I just want to assure that the others will continue to sensitize, that we are talking of them reporting to the Kenyan embassy and not to another embassy for them to get assistance. I also want to point out that we will look at the detail for the person from Shamahoho. We will follow up on that so that we can communicate to the House on that specific individual. I would also say the same. I think there was another person as well. There was somebody, Elizabeth Chausi. We are able to send funds to them for repatriation. Elizabeth Chausi. Now, I also, the Honorable Russo, you raised a very fundamental issue, that the frequency of concerns, of issues emanating from some of these areas. Indeed, it is a matter we have now taken very seriously because it's a pattern and we are engaging from a diplomatic angle to refine our engagement with them so that we can have a process, a stage where we have eliminated this kind of challenges that we are facing. Because some people have gone innocently to work and they find themselves in very awkward predicaments. We are also working very closely with law enforcement agencies. This is the DCI. We want to work also with the EACC and others, because some of the entities that have been luring Kenyans without the due process, without the due procedure, are some of those that have caused this kind of situation that we are facing, where Kenyans move in and they were not processed properly. For instance, the ministry has what you'd call pre-departure protocols to advise them on what to expect, as the Honorable Ferdinand Wanyonyi was saying, with their process to be sensitized before they leave. There are some who prefer not to go through the process, and they find their way there because there's no limitation legally to prevent a Kenyan from moving. If a Kenyan wishes to go somewhere and they don't announce it, there's nothing you can do about it. But it's all really a question of sensitizing them so that we can have less and less of this challenge. But I want to reemphasize that it is absolutely important because we want all our Kenyans to be safe. The issue of human trafficking, the issue of drugs, the issue of being taken and being inducted into slave labor, including the process of being hired to engage in cyber fraud. These are very real threats to our young people, and it is important that we communicate. There was an ambassador in Kenya who once said, actions have consequences. It is important for us to really remind our young people that their actions have consequences. We don't want to lose them. Thank you.
Odhiambo. Elisha Odhiambo,
Thank
member
you.
for Game.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is, I think he's reading 46 of 2025, but he should read 36 of 2025 if we are to follow the chronology. Mr. Speaker, could the Cabinet Secretary, Roman 1, state the measures the government is taking to ensure that children born abroad to Kenyans are recognized as citizens? Roman 2, explain how the government is supporting the economic participation of Kenyan born in foreign countries, particularly in acquiring property, securing employment, and harnessing their skills and expertise for national development. Roman 3, state strategies in place to establish a streamlined integration process for Kenyan born abroad, granting them equal rights, legal protection, and access to national systems like other citizens. Thank you.
PCS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to respond as follows, and you may note that some of the issues I raise have also been canvassed in the immediate question, but let me proceed as follows. Once again, I wish to state that Article 14.1, as read with Clause 30 of the 6th Schedule of the Constitution of Kenya, stipulates that a person is a citizen by birth if on the day of the person's birth, whether or not the person is born in Kenya, either the mother or father of the person is a citizen. This provision, as I said, outlines the principle of citizenship by parentage, thus granting automatic citizenship to children born abroad to Kenyan citizens. For them to obtain official documents like birth certificates, passport, national ID, parents are required to register their births with the government of Kenya. These documents are issued in most of the missions abroad where Kenyans can freely access them. And as we speak, applications are now done via the e-citizen platform and thus centralized. Additionally, the State Department for Diaspora Affairs carries out regular mobile consular services, outreach to take services to the diaspora in countries where we have high populations of Kenyans. The program takes a one government approach as it onboards government agencies to provide essential government services like the issuance of passports, IDs, birth certificates, certificates of good conduct, DNA sampling, among others. And we do it as a holistic approach. The second aspect of the question is how the government is supporting the economic participation of Kenyans abroad, particularly in acquiring property, securing employment, and contributing their skills and expertise to national development. Mr. Speaker, the government has implemented several initiatives to support the economic participation of Kenyans born abroad, recognizing the significant role in national development. These initiatives are many and varied, and they include, among others, first, it should be recognized that since independence, we never had the State Department of Diaspora Affairs. This is now in place, a department that is dedicated to facilitating and supporting Kenyans in the diaspora. This department has also launched the Kenya Diaspora Policy 2024, and in the policy, we articulate the government's commitment to engage with the Kenyan diaspora, aiming to integrate them into the national development agenda. It focuses on protecting their rights, engaging through partnerships, empowering them through job placements, and prospering them through investments. We have also developed a diaspora investment strategy, and this strategy aims at creating a framework that focuses on attracting diaspora investments, facilitating their engagement in Kenya's economic activities, and ensuring that their contributions are effectively integrated into our development plans. We have also been undertaking various diaspora investment promotions with Kenyans in different countries. We are also contemplating, Mr. Speaker, the issuing of a diaspora bond. The government is planning to launch a diaspora bond. This will enable Kenyans abroad to invest in priority projects back home in areas like infrastructure and housing. This conversation is going on with the Treasury and also with the institutions like MIGA of the World Bank. We have, Mr. Speaker, also broadened digital access to government services, and the government has digitized over 16,000 public services which are accessible via eCitizen platform. They include property registration and verification, business registration, tax return filing, and many more, which the diaspora can easily access and monitor their investments back home. There is also the aspect of dual citizenship. The government, in recognizing the importance of identity and investment, has made it easier to regain citizenship for Kenyans who lost citizenship after acquiring other nationalities. This has encouraged a greater economic participation. On matters of the global labor market, the department aims at enhancing employment opportunities for Kenyans abroad while safeguarding their rights and welfare. It also aims at aligning the skills of Kenyan workers with global labor market demands, ensuring that they meet international standards. The approach not only creates employment, but leverages the diaspora contribution to Kenya's socioeconomic growth by fostering knowledge, skills, and technology. We are creating the creation of the Diaspora Placement Agency, created in 2020, focus on supporting Kenyans seeking jobs out there. We are also engaging in a diaspora exchange program, which offers short-term assignments for diaspora professionals in Kenya, technical and vocational education training institutions, and it focuses on transferring digital skills in areas like software development and data science. We also have the Konza Technopolis, and it contributes to skills and expertise in this area. Mr. Speaker, we've been going to allow Kenyans working even in different areas to be able to work from different countries and earn a living. Finally, what are the strategies in place to establish a streamlined integration process for Kenyans born abroad, guaranteeing them equal rights, legal protection, and access to national systems like other citizens? Mr. Speaker, we have reviewed the diaspora policy for 2024, and in the policy framework, we want to guarantee the protection of welfare and rights and continuous engagement and empowerment of Kenyans in the diaspora to realize their prosperity. This is in line with the government's constitutional mandate to protect citizens, whether within Kenya or abroad. The dual citizenship aspect, which I've already talked to. There's also continuous inclusive national engagement. We have more or less made it a tradition now that whenever we have state visits or critical visits from Kenyan government officials, we encourage diaspora engagements by Kenyans as they go out. We are also working on career and economic integration. This is spelled out in our policy so that we can broaden and facilitate integration of the Kenyan workforce and education institutions to enhance skills and technology transfer. I've also talked about the mobile consular services earlier, and of course, the enhancement of use of technology to move forward. Mr. Speaker, as you are also aware, that we have been progressively facilitating Kenyans abroad to also exercise their democratic right of voting when the election cycle is due. Thank you.
Yes, Alicia?
Mr. Speaker, I think I'm largely satisfied. Initially, there was a rigmarole in terms of having to come back home and apply.
If you are satisfied, no speech. You sit down. Yeah? Yes. You are satisfied. If the owner of the question is satisfied, do we need joyriders? We don't need joyriders. The owner is satisfied. Oundo, what is it?
Speaker, I come from a constituency that borders Uganda in a unique situation whereby quite 3/4 of people from my ancestry are in Uganda. And of course, again, this applies to the Maasais in Tanzania. I don't know what kind of measures or thinking is it at the ministry that can allow free movement of people between the 3 countries in East Africa region without having to go through the rigors of having to stamp your passport every day. Occasionally, Honorable Speaker, some go to eat lunch, then come back and go back to work. What measures is the ministry putting together East African leaders to allow free movement?
Oundo, under the East African community, we have a protocol for free movement of people, goods, and services. I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yes, that's on paper.
Parashina?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. As much as we are appreciating the answers from the Prime Cabinet Secretary, I wanted just to seek clarification or something concerning a person in Qatar called Innocent Mwangi Njoka. Innocent Mwangi Njoka happened to have gotten into an accident 2024 in Qatar. When he got an accident, he lost memory and he was taken to the hospital. But when the hospital, the case was again, it was put in a case when he doesn't have any memory. And now the ruling was made on March 16. And he has been, he's supposed to pay 700,000 Kenya shilling. And the family is asking about what is the government doing to such kind of cases? Because we are only looking on now these people are bringing in foreign exchange in terms of money, but we are not looking about their health in case they get chronic diseases, because they only do manual works, most of them in those countries. So you're asking about someone getting a chronic disease, and their families are being told to do arambes. What are the ministries doing towards insurance cover and towards protection and handling such a case of Innocent Mwangi Njoka, of case number 5440 of 2025, traffic court in Qatar? Thank you.
Yes, member for Kajiado, is it East?
Correct.
Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I was wondering whether our CS have the data on how many Kenyans are held in Saudi Arabia in jails, because this seems to have appeared as a very desperate situation. And I'm also wondering whether, knowing that, of course, our country does not strict movement of people or Kenyans to those countries, but I'm wondering whether the Ministry of Foreign Affairs can help develop a policy framework on sensitizing, of course, our citizens who are going to those countries and giving them the right information, and of course maybe having them sign a liability forms, because it seems like there is a big outcry on our workers in this Saudi Arabia country.
Martin, the last one.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Maybe the CS can comment on this. Recently, there were young people.
Ask him a question. Don't ask him to comment.
There were young people on the street demonstrating on the scammed procedures for seeking foreign jobs. What measures do you have to manage and control cartel agencies that are scamming these young people? Because one of the reasons why they are vulnerable outside there is how they land there without any procedure.
Very good. I said 2 joyriders. We have already taken how many? Yes, Bowen?
Yeah, the last one. Mr. Speaker, I just want to ask the Prime Cabinet Secretary. Recently, some 2 days ago, there was a news, we saw some news that the government scam jobs in these Machu jobs by the Ministry of Labor. Kasi Maju, yes. And then there were many Kenyans who were saying they were scammed by the Ministry of Labor under the CS Mutua. So I just want to ask the Cabinet Secretary whether they are working, what is their working relationship with the Ministry of Labor, so that we don't see that kind of Kenyans who are being told that there are some jobs somewhere outside the country, and now it turns to be something different.
Yes, Edith Nyanze.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity. I wanted to find out still on an issue in Saudi Arabia, what the Kenyan government is doing or the embassy is doing, especially on the awareness of all the people who are going there. Because as for now, there's a man from my constituency, Matinyani Ward, who died in his name is Salim Buvi, died in Saudi Arabia. And the cost of retrieving the body to Kenya is very high. He's left, the family is very poor. He went to look for green pastures, but now the body has become a burden to this poor family. So before they move there, is there in any way that there is an awareness or what could transpire when they go there? Thank you.
PCS, can you respond to those? Some are just comments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think on the issue of awareness, I had spoken to that,
Yes.
that particular issue, so I need not go back to it. And on the issue of people who are taking advantage of innocent Kenyans, in the previous response, I did say that the ministry is working with the law enforcement agencies, the DCI, the EACC, so that we can zero in on these unscrupulous people who are causing pain and anguish to innocent Kenyans. So this matter is ongoing, and we believe once the investigations are done thoroughly, the procedure is for them to face prosecution through the due process where the DPP takes over and they are taken to court. And I want to say that we are determined to bring order in this particular area. So we are following very, very closely so that we can have a hygienic process of assisting Kenyans who want to go and work in different countries. I will do some follow-up on the issue of raised by Mrs. Nyenze, now because we are hearing about it for the first time. Then I would also want to state again that we are closely following the issues in the areas where we're having a lot of problems. We are engaging them diplomatically, some of the areas that you have mentioned, so that we can help in improving the conditions of Kenyans there. And I'm confident that in due course, we will have less and less of these complaints emerging. On the issue of the Kazi Maju, we want to adopt a whole of government approach, and we are working, our departments in both the Department of Labor, Ministry of Labor, and the Department of Diaspora Affairs are engaged in a very intricate but detailed conversation so that we can harmonize the issues around this space. And that is why we negotiate bilateral labor agreements and so forth, so that we do not have a situation where the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing. So this is an issue that we are following closely. We do not want to see the kind of headlines that we saw on this particular issue as we go forward.
You can deal with the issue on concerns regarding the criteria used by the government to classify hardship areas and payment of hardship allowances to teachers and other civil servants in the country. What is it, member for Busia?
Thank you,
if it's
Mr.
about
Speaker.
Issues in Saudi Arabia, tumepita hiyo.
It's general.
What is it?
How the ministry is curbing exploitation on Kenyans employed abroad because they go to overwork, but they are treated like slavery and paid very meager salaries. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Omanyo, such a general sweeping statement without facts cannot be a question. PCS, don't answer that. Go to the main. Go to the main.
Okay.
Deal with the issue of hardship. All members who have been agitating on issues of hardship, now it's your turn. I'll allow several joyriders. I'll start with Millie. Let the PCS make his statement first. You can see the hands, PCS.
Yes, yes.
This is a matter that has been bedeviling this house for the last 1 year.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. First of all, Mr. Speaker, before I make my statement, because it's quite comprehensive, let me just take 1 minute to really appreciate and thank the House for having supported and endorsed and finally passed the sessional paper on foreign policy. I really want to appreciate that because it helps us as we move forward. Thank you. Now, Mr. Speaker, this issue is definitely a matter of premium significance to the members and to all Kenyans, and therefore I will seek your indulgence so that I go through this statement. It's fairly comprehensive, but it is important because of the nature of the subject that we are dealing with. Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity to thank you for inviting me to respond on the issues raised by Honorable Jared Okello, MP, and several other members of the National Assembly regarding the criteria used by government to classify hardship areas, especially for teachers and other civil servants in the country. The government has over the years identified and designated some regions of the country as hardship areas for purpose of payment of hardship allowance to public servants working in those areas. Designated hardship areas are considered to be remote with inadequacy in food supply, infrastructure, security, basic social services, and amenities. Hardship allowance was introduced in 1969 as an incentive for officers stationed in designated hardship areas. Mr. Speaker, Article 41 of the Constitution of Kenya provides that every person has a right to fair labor practices, which includes, among others, fair remuneration and reasonable working conditions. Section C10 of the Human Resources Policies and Procedures Manual for the Public Service, 2016, provides for payment of hardship allowance for officers stationed in designated hardship areas as an incentive to partially compensate public servants working in designated hardship areas. Mr. Speaker, let me now go to very specific aspects required of the statement. First, the House wants to have an overview on the criteria used by the Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development in determining hardship areas in the country. Mr. Speaker, designation of hardship areas was previously undertaken consultatively with the Office of the President, the then Provincial Administration and Internal Security, and the Directorate of Personnel Management. The designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance was to be progressively reviewed as areas became relatively developed and socioeconomic conditions improved across the country. It is noted that over the years, various jurisdictions in the public service, including the civil service, the teaching service, and the judiciary, have independently reviewed hardship areas using different parameters, thereby creating disparities in terms of categorization and rates of payment. It is further noted that the unit of analysis for designated hardship areas are not harmonized and vary across public service jurisdictions. For instance, the civil service uses the former district boundaries, while the teaching service under the Teachers Service Commission uses educational zones for categorization. The Honorable Speaker, currently, the civil service, county governments, and state corporations have 16 areas designated as hardship. Teaching service has 44, while the judiciary has 21 designated hardship areas. And in the statement I provided to Parliament, there's an Appendix 1 which indicates the list of these designated hardship areas. Mr. Speaker, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics identified and weighted 7 parameters to guide the determination and recategorization of hardship areas. The parameters were food, water, transport and communication services, social services, climate and terrain, security, and the poverty index. The weighted criteria are provided by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and I've attached an Appendix 2 to this statement to help the MPs as they reflect on this. The second critical issue was that the House wanted to know the status report on the Interagency Technical Committee on the mode of addressing existing disparities in designated hardship allowances in the public service. Mr. Speaker, in cognizance of the existing disparities in designated hardship areas in the public service, and to promote fairness and parity of treatment of public servants, the government, through the ministry responsible for public service, constituted an interagency technical committee to undertake a study and review designated hardship areas. Mr. Speaker, the interagency committee was appointed by the Ministry of Public Service in March 2019. The committee comprised of representatives from the then following institutions: Ministry of Public Service and Gender, Ministry of Interior and Coordination of National Government, Ministry of Education, the National Treasury and Planning, the Judiciary, the Public Service Commission, the Teachers Service Commission, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, and the Commission on Revenue Allocation, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and the Council of Governors. Mr. Speaker, the terms of reference for the Interagency Technical Committee, amongst others, were as follows. 1, to study the current policies and applicable circulars on designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance in the civil service. 2, to undertake a comparative analysis of other existing policies on designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance in the public service and other jurisdictions. 3, to study the issues in petitions presented to the National Assembly on the matter of designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance to public servants. 4, to study concerns raised by the Union of Kenya Civil Servants regarding designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance as provided in the collective bargaining agreement of 2017 and make recommendations on implementation modalities. Then there was the issue of to address other issues incidental to the matter of designated hardship areas and the payment of allowances thereof. Finally, prepare a report on the study with recommendations on the way forward on categorization of designated hardship areas and payment hardship allowances. Mr. Speaker, the Interagency Technical Committee undertook a wide stakeholder engagement in carrying out the study. Some of the stakeholders' engagement by the committee was face-to-face interviews with officers from the ministries that I have mentioned and institutions that I have mentioned. In addition, the technical committee undertook the following: field visits to establish findings, reports from the respective deputy county commissioners, and socioeconomic data submitted by the respective county statistics officers of the areas visited. B, literature review on poverty indices in the country from annual economic surveys and reports prepared by the Commission on Revenue Allocation and the Equalization Fund. Mr. Speaker, the key findings and the recommendations of the report were as follows. A, there are areas currently designated as hardship or petitioned by stakeholders to be categorized as hardship. However, upon review, they were found not to be hardship areas. B, the severity of hardship in the reviewed areas vary from moderate to extreme. C, some of the currently designated hardship areas covered an entire county, sub-county, or division uniformly. It is also, however, noted that some regions have only specific locations with moderate or extreme hardship conditions, and the areas were reviewed and categorized appropriately. Not all public officers working in the hardship areas are compensated through payment of hardship allowance. This is due to disparities in the current policy guidelines on designated hardship areas in the public service. And E, some areas that were previously designated as hardship areas have acquired different status following implementation of the devolved system of governance and improved socioeconomic development across the country, and have been reviewed and recommended for degazettement. Mr. Speaker, the report of the Interagency Technical Committee on review of designated hardship areas and payment of hardship allowance in the public service was finalized and submitted to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, for concurrence. The SRC reviewed the report and provided approved rates and will issue advice to the public service on the new rates once the hardship areas are gazetted after this review. The reviewed designated hardship areas have been submitted to the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service for gazettement. However, I would like to add a rider that the Head of Public Service will present this before Cabinet before the gazettement is done. And that process is now being